Money. Some have it, some don't. Some have mastered it. Most are still chasing it. You might think of money as just numbers, spreadsheets, and math, an equation that needs to be solved. But the real financial decisions are made far away from calculators, around dinner tables, with ego, with pride, with fear, and with personal history. The true nature of money is the dance between the cold arithmetic of a spreadsheet and messy, irrational human nature. When it comes to money, we are complicated creatures. And here's the thing, most finance gurus won't tell you. Financial success is not so much about how much you know, it's about how you behave. This video was inspired by Morgan Housel's amazing book, The Psychology of Money. Today, we are delving into the strange and very human side of your bank account. Let's talk about your financial DNA. We all come from different generations, different parents earning different incomes, different parts of the world, different economies, different opportunities. Because of this, we all have very different experiences and, frankly, very different scars when it comes to money. Take the stock market and inflation, for example. Let's look at someone born in 1970. During their teens and 20s, they watched the S&P 500 increase almost tenfold, 10 times. To them, the stock market is a magical escalator that only goes up. They are hardwired to be optimistic. They see a dip and think, oh sweet, a discount. Now, let's look at someone born in 1950. During their teens and 20s, the stock market went absolutely nowhere. It was a flat line of disappointment for a decade. For them, the market isn't an escalator. It's a treadmill. They are hardwired to be skeptical. They see a dip and think, here we go again. Get me out. And what about inflation? Someone born in the 1960s experienced the nightmare of the 1970s and 80s. Prices of everything just kept going up while the economy felt stuck. That experience is burned into their brain. They are hyper-aware of inflation. They fear it like a monster under the bed. But someone born in 1990, they've lived their entire adult life in a world of low inflation. For them, inflation is just a boring word in a textbook. It's not a real visceral fear. It's just there. Here is the point. A person's experience during their formative years shapes their entire attitude toward money. It's their lens. People justify every financial decision they make based on the information they have at that exact moment and their mental model of the world. That model was passed down from their parents. It was shaped by their unique life experiences. And yes, they can be completely misinformed. They can make bad decisions. But here is the kicker. Their actions make perfect sense to them in that moment. It aligns with their own personal story. Morgan Housel puts it perfectly. People do some crazy things with money, but no one is crazy. We all have unique worldviews. And since there is no single, universally correct way to manage money, none of us are actually crazy. We're just operating with different software in our heads. We make financial decisions based on our personal life experiences and our worldview, not a spreadsheet. Let's talk about the king of the spreadsheet, the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. There is no doubt that Warren Buffett is considered one of the greatest investors of all time. But what is absolutely staggering is this number. $81.5 billion of Warren Buffett's $84.5 billion net worth was earned after he reached his mid-60s. Read that again. Over 96% of his wealth came after he was old enough to collect Social Security. Morgan Housel explains that few people pay enough attention to the simplest fact. Buffett's fortune isn't just due to being a good investor. It's due to being a good investor since he was literally a child. As a result of starting at age 10, Buffett was able to harness the power of compounding. Let's run a quick simulation in your head. You invest $1,000 at an interest rate of 8%. After year 1, you have $1,080. You earned $80. Cool. Next year, you compound that total of $1,080 at 8%. Now you earn $86.40. Wait, you earned an extra $6.40 for doing nothing? Yes, that's the magic. You earned money on your initial investment and on the interest you already earned. The counterintuitive nature of compounding makes many of us not realize how extreme the results can be. It starts slow, boring, like watching grass grow. Then, decades later, it becomes a rocket ship. Let's imagine an alternate reality. A parallel universe where young Warren Buffett behaved like a normal guy in his 20s. He used his early income to travel, buy a few nice cars, and impress dates. Let's say he didn't start seriously investing until age 30 with a net worth of $25,000. He still retired at 60, and he still generated those amazing average returns of 22% annually. What would his net worth be today? About $11.9 million. That's 99.9% less than his actual net worth today. Warren Buffett's secret weapon isn't just skill, it's longevity, it's time, it's the power of compounding. But let's look at this from an even crazier perspective. The richest investor of all time is Warren Buffett. But in terms of average annual returns, he is not the greatest. Not even close. Meet Jim Simons. He's a hedge fund manager who has compounded money at a staggering 66% annually since 1988. That is a much higher rate than Buffett. Math genius stuff. And yet, Jim Simons' net worth is only $21 billion. That's 75% less than Buffett. How is this possible? If Simons is better at picking stocks, why is he so much poorer than Buffett? The reason is simple. Simons didn't find his stride until he was 50 years old. He was a math professor, a code breaker. He only had about 30 years to compound. Buffett had nearly 80. Housel did the terrifying math on this. If Jim Simons had started with the same time horizon as Warren Buffett and kept that 66% return, his net worth today would be 63 quintillion, 900 quadrillion, 781 trillion, 780 billion, 748 million, $160,000. That number is so big it doesn't even make sense. It's more money than exists on the entire planet. By a lot. The lesson is brutal and clear. Do not underestimate the power of compounding. It doesn't matter how counterintuitive it feels. It is the most powerful force in finance. Now let's talk about why we ignore good news and feast on bad news. Pessimism and money. Optimism is a belief that the odds of a good outcome are in your favor over time, even if there are setbacks along the way. But when it comes to money, we all have a deep, dark bias toward pessimism that we hold dear in our hearts. But let's look at the facts. Looking back over the last 100 years, things have generally improved. Technology is better, medicine is better, the stock market is higher. So, what is it about pessimism that we love so much? The answer is because good things take time. They don't happen overnight. A 40% decline in the stock market over 6 months will attract immediate attention. It will break news alerts on your phone. It might even force the government to hold an emergency meeting. It's fast, it's violent, it's scary. But what about a 140% gain over 6 years? That's incremental. It's quiet. It happens in the background while you're living your life. It goes largely unnoticed. Think about this. Every single year, 500,000 American lives are saved by the progress of medicine over the last 50 years. 500,000 lives saved. That's a miracle. But it's a slow, boring miracle. It attracts less attention than a single plane crash, a terrorist attack, or a hurricane. There are many overnight tragedies, but there are very few overnight miracles. To be practical in your financial life, you don't have to be an optimist. You just don't have to be a permanent pessimist. Despite the setbacks, we can hold on to the belief that over a long enough timeline, the odds of a positive outcome are in our favor. The next time you're watching the news and they're highlighting a stock market crash or economic woes, just remember, things tend to improve over time. Slowly, quietly, and relentlessly. Let's go back to 1968. There were roughly 300 million high school-age people in the world. Out of those 300 million, exactly 300 students attended a small, unassuming private school in Seattle called Lakeside. Lakeside happened to be the only high school in the entire world at that time that had a professor with the foresight to lease a computer. A Teletype Model 30. This was no ordinary machine. It was advanced for the time. The type of computer that even graduate students at elite universities didn't have access to. And for one lucky student at Lakeside, this would change everything. That student was Bill Gates. From 300 million down to 300. In 1968, there was roughly a 1 in a million chance of being a high school student with access to a computer. Bill Gates and his schoolmate Paul Allen would go on to create Microsoft together. Now, don't get me wrong. Even as a teenager, Gates showed exceptional intelligence, hard work, and a vision for computers unlike anyone else. He was a prodigy. But going to Lakeside also gave him a 1 in a million competitive advantage, a head start that no amount of hard work can replicate. And Gates is not shy about this. In 2005, he said it plainly. If there had been no Lakeside, there would have been no Microsoft. But there's a part of this story that is often forgotten. A third member of this gang of high school computer prodigies. His name was Kent Evans. Kent was just as intelligent, just as visionary. He could very well have been a founder of Microsoft alongside Gates and Allen. He was in the room. He had the same access to the teletype. However, that would never happen. A mountaineering accident took Kent Evans' life before he even graduated high school. The odds of a high school student being killed in a mountaineering accident are around 1 in a million. Just as an extremely rare stroke of luck propelled Bill Gates and Paul Allen to historic success, Kent Evans experienced an extremely rare event of the opposite kind. An encounter with what Morgan Housel calls the close sibling of luck, risk. Luck and risk are like the wind and the waves that determine the course of a sailboat. The sailor can control the rudder and the sails. He can be the best sailor in the world. But ultimately, the direction and speed of the boat are influenced by external factors that cannot be fully predicted or controlled. The pursuit of success is full of twists and turns. The role luck and risk play in shaping our lives is a perspective we absolutely must keep in mind. Understanding that success is a complex combination of talent and luck can help us approach our own financial decisions with greater humility. And it helps us stop judging others for their failures, which might just be bad luck in disguise. People want to become wealthier because they think it will make them happier. But here is the paradox. According to Housel, the key to happiness is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. The pursuit of material wealth has led many people to work harder than ever and give up more control over their time. They are richer in dollars, but poorer in minutes. And studies show, time and time again, that having control over your life is the most dependable predictor of positive feelings of well-being. More than your salary, more than your house size, more than your career prestige. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Pursuing money without valuing time is like filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it will continue to leak out. Similarly, no matter how much money you accumulate, it won't bring lasting happiness if you don't have control over your schedule and can't enjoy the fruits of your own labor. Let me tell you the story of a man named Heinz Berggruen. Heinz fled Nazi Germany and settled in America. He became one of the most successful art dealers of all time. He collected a massive amount of art, including works by famous artists like Picasso, Klee, and Matisse. In the year 2000, he sold just a portion of his collection for over 100 million euros. What was his secret? How did he acquire so many masterpieces? Was it skill? Was it luck? According to Horizon Research, great art investors do something counterintuitive. They buy vast quantities of art, and they just hold on to it for a long, long time. They wait for a tiny fraction of those paintings to become well-known and worth a fortune, even though the vast majority of the paintings they bought were duds. In other words, it's not about being right all the time. It's about having a diversified portfolio and waiting for a few huge winners to emerge. Perhaps 99% of the works Berggruen acquired in his life turned out to be of little value. Junk. He could be wrong most of the time, but that doesn't matter at all if the other 1% turn out to be the work of someone like Picasso. These events are known as tail events, when a small number of outcomes account for the majority of the results. The long tails of Berggruen's art collection are what led to his ultimate fortune. This applies to business and investing in a huge way. The obvious example is venture capital. Most startups in a VC fund will fail and lose money. But all they need are a few outlier startups, which return 20 times the investment to make up for all those losses and then some. Take Amazon. In 2018, it drove 6% of the return on the entire S&P 500, even though it is just one company. And if we look inside Amazon, its growth was largely driven by just two tail events, Amazon Prime and Amazon Web Services. Those two products alone more than made up for all of Amazon's embarrassing failures, like the Fire Phone or their failed travel agency. After the disastrous release of the Amazon Fire Phone, rather than apologizing to shareholders, Jeff Bezos said something amazing. He said, "If you think that's a big failure, we're working on much bigger failures right now." I am not kidding. Some of them are going to make the Fire Phone look like a tiny little blip. Bezos understands that it is okay to fail with most products, as long as the process creates that 1% of tail event products that drive everything. Tail events are mostly hidden from us because we only see the finished product on the shelf. We don't see the graveyard of failed experiments that led to it. Housel uses the example of a stand-up comedian. When you're watching the Netflix special, you think, "Wow, this guy is hilarious." What you aren't seeing are the years of trial and error. The failed jokes the comedian tried out in small, smoky clubs all around the country. The Netflix special is the 1% compendium of all the tail event jokes that actually made people laugh. 99% of the jokes along the way were probably just, okay. When it comes to your money, even though long tails are everywhere, most of us ignore them. When things go wrong, we panic. We sell. We overreact. But once you accept that tails drive everything in business and finance, you realize lots of things will go wrong. They will fail. They will fall apart. Remember this. Out of the nearly 500 stocks Warren Buffett has picked in his lifetime, only 10 have made the majority of his money. 10 out of 500. Good stock pickers will only be right half of the time. Good leaders will only make good decisions half of the time. The fact that you might be wrong sometimes doesn't mean that things won't work out over time. In the end, the entire outcome can be determined by just a small number of events. We've covered a lot today. Your financial DNA, the power of time, why pessimism feels so good, the randomness of luck and risk, and the power of those rare tail events. But the biggest takeaway is this. You are not a spreadsheet. You are a human. And once you understand the psychology behind the numbers, you stop fighting yourself and you start winning with money. In the next part, we're going to talk about why looking rich is the enemy of being wealthy, the real price you have to pay to invest, and the treadmill that keeps even millionaires feeling broke. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.